If your first wash in your painting is weak, then the whole painting falls apart. In this approach to painting, the first wash of your scene is not just the background. It is the foundation of light and atmosphere. Today I'm going to walk you through creating the first wash of this painting, and I'm going to explain to you the choices that I make along the way and why this is so important to the success of your painting. The first wash is typically a large wet into wet wash that covers the entire paper, that establishes the major shapes of the scene, but more importantly, the overall light and atmosphere of the painting. The first wash helps set your value plan. It puts us on the path to a full range of values. You don't want the first wash of your scene to be too light, because then it will throw off the values further on down. When I am starting my painting, after I have laid in the drawing, worked out the composition, what I do is I wet down the back and the front of my paper. Now I know that you might not be comfortable with that technique, and that's okay. If you want to tape your paper down to a surface, that's fine. But what I would like you to try is to dampen down the whole front of your paper. When the paper is damp, it allows me more time before the paper has dried to paint wet into wet. And because the paper is wet longer, I can take a little bit more time, think through the little bits of color changes and the light that I want to set up within the first wash. I've laid out my drawing. Now I'm wetting down the back and the front of the paper. I'm going to first lay in some of the light values for the distant mountain. So I'm going to start there, and I'll explain to you in a minute how I'm going to handle the sky and other areas. So I'm laying in that light color of the distant mountain. As I work down that, I'm letting these colors flow into each other, getting a nice soft transition from one color to the next. Up here I'm using a little bit of raw sienna and lavender. Down here I've introduced a little bit of cobalt turquoise and raw sienna to start to get some of the green that will be for the distant trees. Now I work into the areas of these two buildings here. My paper is still damp, and notice that I'm letting the colors flow from one to another. There's a little bit more of a cooler tone on the top of the roof, a little bit warmer down here, and I'm letting those colors simply merge together on the paper. Now I'm taking some vibrant colors. This was a photograph in Colorado when the aspens had changed into this vibrant, bright yellow color. It was absolutely gorgeous. Here I'm using some raw sienna and some Quinacridone Gold to get that vibrant punch of color. I want to lay those in now because I'm going to be painting darker areas around them later to define the trees. But right now I want to lay in that light and that color. That's what this first wash is all about. Now you'll see when you are painting wet into wet, you're going to get a little bit of fuzzing and bleeding from color to color. Sometimes this happens. If colors leak down onto other things, especially this, vibrant Quinacridone Gold, I can take a little brush and I can lift some of that off. Generally, I don't worry too much about colors drifting into each other. I know that once I get the middle values in place and the details and everything that comes later, I'm not going to be paying too much attention to that. Now you can see that even though I wet down my paper, I'm still getting a hard edge up here. But that's okay because the paper is still a little damp, and while this edge is wet, I can still catch that and get a softer edge up here at the top. A lot of times, I will paint the full sky within the first wash. In this case, I have this mountain that has some light on the front of it. I'm painting a light blue to take away the white of the paper, allowing me to merge these colors in with that color. And then when I come back in the middle values, that's when I will paint a darker blue sky to give some form to those distant mountains. Now I'm still taking my time working my way through the light values of this scene. You'll notice here I've stopped and I have these hard edges. As long as I reload my brush and I come in and touch this edge while it's still wet, while it's still damp, then I can still connect all of this into one fluid wash. So I lifted a little bit of that yellow off of the roof. Same thing on the other one. And now I'm continuing to work that wash down. Now when we get down to the ground level, we'll have more earth tones and grasses and things like that. I'm using some raw sienna and some Cobalt Turquoise for a lot of those muted greens. I dropped in a little bit of lighter value for the tree. Now, this tree will be much darker when I paint it later on. By adding a little bit of that now, I can have more of a feeling of form and possibly leave behind some of these lighter values when I get further down the road. Now I'm adding in the color of the path. So the dirt down here, using some raw sienna, some raw umber, some neutral tint for that. And that right there is a look at the first wash of the painting. I painted pretty dark in this first wash. That's one of the most common problems I see in students' paintings, is they are too timid when it comes to painting the first wash. But what I don't want to do is paint a really, really light pale wash and then go in with a strong middle value wash. That gap in values becomes pretty stark. So don't be afraid to push the value. You don't want to go, really dark. These are still the light values of the scene. Don't jump into the middle values and the darks yet. We still want to keep it in that lighter tone. So at this stage, I let everything dry, and I'm going to zip through the middle values and the darks and show you how adding that on top of this important first wash can give us a very compelling feeling of light. Now I'm adding in the rich blue of the sky, and you can see I was able to paint around the mountains and to leave that value there. While the sky is still damp, I'm adding in some middle value over the top of what I've already painted and connecting the trees into the middle value wash. And there's that large tree over on the left I was telling you about. Okay, now as I zip ahead, add some more texture on the road. All that light value in that first wash was all a setup for the middle value. The light on the path, the light on the roofs of the buildings, the mountains, the bits of highlights in the trees. So if we zip ahead here and I get on the darks and the details, and there's a look at the finished painting. Don't overlook that first wash. Take your time with it. Make sure that you are painting strong enough. If you can hone that skill and set yourself up in that first wash of the painting, you'll be much happier with your end result. Next week, I'm going to talk about how to simplify your scenes. If you can simplify your subject matter in a meaningful way, you will be more likely to set yourself up for success in your painting. So be sure and subscribe if you haven't done that already. And if you're looking for something that could help you out right now, take a look at this. Have you ever been really excited about a painting and you get all set up, you find that right reference that you're excited about, and then it's time to go and you feel lost? I have a free resource that I want to give to you today that can help with these problems. My 5 steps to plan a successful watercolor painting. I walk you through the crucial planning phase of your painting that will help you understand what you're going to paint first, second, and third. The planning is really so important, especially in watercolor. This medium is harder to correct. It's so immediate. So having that plan is very important. I send you a PDF that you can download. And the great thing about this is you can have it on your phone. You could print it out. You can download this right now before you start your next painting. All you have to do is follow this link here and download my 5-step guide to planning a successful watercolor painting.